Greetings, children, and welcome to another hour of math. Okay, probably not really an hour, but 10 minutes of math. So, today we're talking about classifying and evaluating polynomials. So this is a skill that you probably already have. Polynomials were introduced earlier in the book, as well as discussed in previous classes. So, we're on section 9.1 if you're following along. Bob Jones. And we have some definitions here. And before we get to the definitions, the very first line here is important as well. It says, do you remember what a term is? So terms are defined as a variable or the product or quotient or constant or one or more variables. So we have terms are things that are multiplied together, like 2xy squared would be a term, or 5 is a term, or 7x, or ABC. So it doesn't have to have a numerical coefficient. It can also have a fraction, like 1/2 x, or 5y over z. So all of these would be single terms, because they're just things that are multiplied together. Now you might say, well, this one here is divided. Well, you could look at it as 5y times 1 over z. So now it's things that are multiplied together. So those are all terms. So terms are things that we use to define polynomials. So let's look at the definition for a polynomial. A polynomial is an expression that can be written as a sum of terms consisting of constants, variables with a non-negative exponents, or products of a constant or one or more such variables. So it's just a collection of terms. We have terms that are combined with plus or minus signs. That's what makes a polynomial. So a polynomial might be something like this. 2xy plus 3. So that could be a polynomial. It could also just be 5. That's a polynomial as well. Or it could be 7x squared plus 3x minus 2. Or it could have a bunch of things. A plus B plus C plus D plus E plus F plus G plus H plus I minus J. Okay, so it could have a bunch of terms like that. So we have special polynomials that are named. This one here, if it just has one term, like 5 or maybe 5xy, that's a monomial. So mono means one. So a monomial has one term. Remember, terms are separated by plus or minus signs. Then a binomial would be this one. Think of the word bicycle. It has 2 wheels. Well, a binomial has 2 terms. So a binomial has 2 terms. And then a trinomial, just like its prefix implies, a trinomial has 3 terms. So trinomial has 3 terms here. So 7x squared plus 3x minus 2 would be 3 terms. This one up at the top has 10 terms, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I. Right? So those are the 10 terms, and then J. So it doesn't have a special name like monomial, binomial, or trinomial. It's just referred to as a polynomial. Now poly, the root of this prefix here means many. So all of these are polynomials. A binomial is a type of polynomial. A monomial is a type of polynomial. A trinomial is a type of polynomial. So you could broadly classify these as polynomials. But if you're trying to be more specific, then you could say this is a monomial, a binomial, a trinomial. So those classifications are more specific. And you want to be more specific if possible. Now, the next definition is on the next page, and it's the degree of a term. So the degree of a term, well, it's actually on the same page, but the degree of the term is the sum of the exponents in the variables. So if we had this term, if we had 2x squared y cubed, the degree would be 5, because we have a 2 and a 3. If we just have 5x, then the degree is 1. So our degree will be 1 here because the exponent here just has an exponent of 1, even though it's not written. If you just have a single term, the degree is pretty easy to find. You add up the exponents. So if you had ABC, the degree would be 3, because it's 1 plus 1 plus 1. Okay, so that's how to find the degree of a term. To find the degree of a polynomial, you look at all the different terms. Like this one, the degree of this term is 2. So 2 here. The degree of this one is 1. And the degree of a constant without a variable is 0. So you look at all of the terms and see which one's the highest. Well, this one here has a degree of 2. So that means that this whole polynomial, we would say, has a degree of 2. So this polynomial would have a degree of 2 as well as this one. So all of these up here have a degree of 2. This giant one at the top, even though there's a bunch of different ones, since they're different terms, it just has a degree of 1. Like I said earlier, if you had just a single number, like 7 as your polynomial, then the degree is 0. The only exception is if your polynomial is 0, this is called a constant polynomial, this is called the 0 polynomial, it's a special case, and there is no degree. So that's the only exception there. Alright, so that's as much as you need to know about classifying polynomials. Now let's talk about evaluating polynomials. Evaluating polynomials means that you are taking a polynomial and then substituting numbers in for the letters. So let's say we had 2x plus 3y. And we want to find out what's the value of 2x plus 3y if x equals 5 and y equals negative 2. Well, we would substitute in 2 times 5, because x is 5, and 3 times negative 2. And then you would follow the order of operations. So it says multiply first, 10 plus negative 6, and then we're going to add 10 plus negative 6 is 4. So when we evaluate this using these, then we get 4. Now, it might change it and say, okay, the same polynomial, but instead let's evaluate it when x equals 5 and y equals 7. Then we'd have 2 times 5 plus 3 times 7. 10 plus 21 is 31. So you can see the same polynomial can equal different things depending on the values that you get for x or y or whatever your variables are. So that's how we evaluate. Remember, the order of operations needs to be followed. The order of operations, quick summary, is parentheses, so operations that are in parentheses first, then exponents, and then multiplication or division in the order that they appear from left to right, just like you'd read a book, and then addition or subtraction. So a lot of people use this and they just pronounce it and they say PEMDAS. Or you can use like a mnemonic device like, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Okay, because whatever Aunt Sally did, it was something wrong and she needs excused for her actions. So that's how we evaluate a polynomial. So that's a brief summary of the lesson from 9.1. Looks like it was just around 10 minutes, not an hour. Sorry. If you want it to be an hour, you'd have to watch this video 6 times to get all 60 minutes. But if you have any questions, feel free to ask. As always, have a great day.